So welcome back to another Python class, and today we basically do a recap and catch-up call from all the lessons we had so far, because I think learning all the time is good, but at one point you have to repeat what you did so you don't forget. And the most important thing in or while learning programming is consistency, right? Just appearing or showing up every time and learning new content is good, but of course remember what you are using and why you are doing that. And that's why today we are back, and this one will be a little bit more interactive, and I will just cover a couple of topics which I think you should know by now, or basically by now if you have done all the tasks. And if you did, we can continue and you can ask me some questions, but then I will cover, or I will start with the questions from Johnny, which are related to soft skills. But I will read the question later again. And sorry if you can't understand me today, guys, but I have some swollen mouth somehow. So maybe I speak like an Asian guy, and then in Germany we say nuscheln, because I can't open my mouth somehow. But yeah, so guys, first of all, let's see who's back actually. Let me open this one. So this is my screen. So we have Adam, Afro, Johnny, Tess, Hangul, and Julio. Okay, guys. So far, first of all, do you have any questions? Or, do you have any questions?
Nah, not so far. I'm just trying to figure out task. What is it, 10? I think I catched up a little bit, but yeah, I have to do task 10.
Perfect. Okay, what about you guys? Johnny?
No questions, no questions.
Thank you. Maybe you can tell us where you are at right now.
Where I am right now.
Yeah, not in
I
your
am
room, but I mean like project-wise.
project-wise. So from last week, you told us to make a small database, basically, or like think about a database schema for a project we want to do. So my idea was to scrape some Reddit submissions or like data from a subreddit, and later on, I want to automate it. Basically, I want to create a video with all the, for example, like quotes I've been scraping. And yeah, but in order to do that, I have dived into how to use the Reddit API. And so far it worked. I got my data, but I was introduced to new packages or modules. So I have to learn what they do first in order to understand what I have been doing. Because so far I've just following a tutorial and it worked, but of course I want to understand what I'm doing. So this is my next step. And then I'm going to scale my project bigger. So far, yeah, this is where I am right now. And I'm trying to learn how
Perfect.
to use more Python in order to work with my database
Perfect.
SQL.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So, Afro, what about you? Because I can see it. Afro is wrote here. Afro, same. No questions for now. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. I don't know where you guys are at concerning the task, because I think we have now 12 tasks. Just feel free to do them and then send me over so I can just check it and give you some code review. Because the first thing which we can talk about today actually is that code reviews are a very important thing. I don't know if you guys know what code reviews are, but you can imagine that you basically check the code with somebody else. Like you have a task, you finish it, and before you actually merge it, like on GitHub, into the current main branch or the dev branch or whatever you are working on, you have to review it before the real product gets exposed to your code, because you could do something wrong and another person can help you to figure out maybe you can do something more efficient, or you can do it better, or there's another way, or you didn't cover specific cases or something like that, okay? And that's why it's always interesting to see how other people work. And because Johnny had a question before, which was, wait, let me check here. Let me move my head away actually. Which was for today's class, I would like to know if there are any relevant soft skills needed in order to get a job in the tech industries. Maybe there are some which come to your mind. Yes, but that's just a small excursus into this topic that you have to, or you should check out how other people work and know alternatives, how you could code something, okay? Because most of the case, some people or most people, they code something and the only thing they care about is that their code works, okay? I mean, it makes sense because in the beginning, you just want it to work and it should do something. That's the best feeling, right? That it prints something, or you see, oh, I got a response from this API or something. But when you look at other people's GitHub repositories, you can learn from them as well. Consider they didn't write spaghetti code or something like that, okay? So then let me just quickly move over to this one again. So this was in the very beginning, I had this roadmap, which we wanted to cover. And I think for all of you, you already covered all of that, which means that you know how to work with the IDE. You know, we have PyCharm, we have Visual Studio Code, and then we have Jupyter Notebooks. And all those three are super important if you want to use an IDE or want to work in companies, because those are the most common IDEs which they use. In my company, we use like mostly PyCharm, but some people also use Visual Studio Code, and there's not a big problem between them. But if you use another one and you have different, I don't know, packages, or no, not packages, but the whole code structure could, I don't know, behave different just because of your IDE. You never know. That's why the best thing, of course, is always to work with the same tool which everybody's using. And yeah, so we covered programming language, but for those who don't know yet, Jupyter Notebook is a web browser IDE, and this is what data scientists and data analysts mostly use, but I love to use it as well, especially because, wait, can I see a picture here? Try it in your browser. Yeah, look at this. Let's use this one. So it basically looks like this. So you see it has the same structure like an IDE. And of course, you can set the theme to dark, which is the most important thing, of course. And you see you have your file tree on the top, on the left side, and you have your folders and your navigation bar at the top. And then on the right side, you have those cells, which you can fold and close or open, whatever you want. And then you have a cell, because in an IDE, PyCharm, you have a huge file where you have to write into, and you can't split them into pieces where you say, I just want to run this line, for example, right? If you want to do that, you have to go into PyCharm and say exit, for example, and then set a breakpoint, and then it stops here. But here, you can say, I will just run this code here, and then I press Shift Enter, and then it will just run this part, you know? And I can close it, and then you see here in the notebook itself, as the name tells you already, it's a notebook where you can take notes as well. You can see I just wrote, or somebody wrote some information here, and it's actually a markdown file. You see here markdown, and you can turn it into a code, but then it doesn't work anymore because markdown works like that. So if you don't know what markdown is, it's just markup language which basically highlights text for you, like with this hashtag here, and then it transforms it into a documentation. Like when I do it like this, you see the whole code just moved into this one. But the message here is that you also can check out Jupyter notebooks or Jupyter Lab actually, because this whole thing here is the lab. And one file could be a Jupyter notebook, but I don't want to go too deep into that one. So you have heard about that. Also documentation, Git, and working with the terminal, that should be clear now. And if you don't know what I mean with terminal, it means you need to understand that you could open a terminal like the PowerShell, oh my God, PowerShell here. And then you need to understand how to use, or what does CD, oh my God, can you even read that? Wait, hello? Why can't I make it bigger? Oh my God. So you need to understand what CD is or LS, and of course use the IDE to work with Git, like git add minus or add minus a, git checkout, all those commands, right? That's what is important. And also working with the documentation means you know pages like pyp.org. Is it like this? Yeah. And then you go to, for example, beautiful soup, and you need to go to any package you want, and then of course understand the packages where the documentation. I don't even know where this one is here. Documentation, here, documentation. And then you need to, like, you should have seen such a page already that you know how to work with that. So you understand what does a specific function do? What are parameters of this function, you know? That's what I expect you to know already, but I assume you already do. But for those who are watching, that's like the foundation where you can move on. And then we have the next one, which we also covered, which is the data structures. Like here you can see on the top, like long integer, double, float, list, dictionary, sets, and data frames, for example, data frames with pandas. So if you have worked with it already, but I think Johnny did. And then also data files. So if you want to go into data or work with more data-related projects or work in data engineering, you need to work with as many different data types as possible. JSON, XML, CSV, PDF, I don't know what else. Yeah, images, PNG, JPEG, whatever you want. And then, of course, algorithms, loops, conditions, frameworks, time complexities, all that stuff, and modules. I think that should be pretty clear. Then, of course, the principles, which are actually even more important after this one. Actually, forget what I said. It's also important, not more important. And you need to understand how does the internet work. Like, what is a client? And what is a server? What is a web server? What is a virtual machine? That's where you could go forward to. Then you need to understand what are APIs, what does it stand for, what is the difference between API and REST API, what is, for example, CRUD here, CRUD operations. That's something which you also should know already if you have done the task. And yeah, server and client I already mentioned. And those are like principles between, between all the technologies which you will use. Because it doesn't matter which programming language you will use or which you want to use, all those things here, or those topics, will be there regardless of your programming language or your choice. Then, now, start a project. So you see, I wrote down you can start a project just with YouTube. You follow something and add your own features to it, or you follow a course, so it's similar to this one, but it could be Udemy or something, or you start one with your with a community, which Johnny already is doing, because you need to apply what you're learning, and that's what I'm saying. That I'm telling you all of that because I just want to refresh your mind. And of course, when you start a project, that means you have to start from scratch again, right? You define something, and then, of course, the skills like project management come into action. But that's just on the side, because on the main part is that you need to code finally. And you have to implement all the things which we talked about. But of course, not alone. You can ask anybody in the community, and then we can do it together. But in the beginning, just do it. Just do anything. And yeah, so it also goes into the direction of bootcamp, because there are some platforms which give you like all this again, you know, but with a primary goal, which is like an end project. Or you just go into something like, where is it? Here on this page, the programming resources which I wrote down here, which are free, the green ones, Free Code Camp, and the Odin project. That's where you can go, and then you can learn how to like finish one project from 0 to 100. Yes, yes, yes. And then of course we go here, build a network, which I think we are doing here because we are still here together. I don't even know if I'm still on Discord, so let me check. Okay, I'm still here. Guys, also, if you have a question, just let me know, okay? Build a network. And building a network doesn't only consist of the technical part, okay? Because today we will move over to the social aspects of this whole class. Because I know technical parts or technical topics are very important, like how to write this, how to understand this logic, what is Boolean algebra, I don't know, all of that, which is super important. But of course, I'm telling you, all that you can learn on your own by yourself. And I think it's easier to learn about social skills if you talk with others and experience them, you know, because then they also can give you reasons. But of course, you also can look up videos on that topic. But I think it's a little bit hard to find the right one, which I want to cover, which I think is the most important one, which goes actually into the direction which Johnny wants to go, which was this one, like soft skills needed for the tech industry or to get a job. So that's what I will focus on today as well. And then what is that? Create even more. So that's basically just a cliffhanger. And you can start your own small project. So maybe you guys can tell me in the chat if you already started your own projects like Johnny. And I think what Johnny will do, for example, is here, he will help other experienced devs, because I really like the idea which Johnny is following, like the content automation or automation of content creation. And yeah, and then I want to help you even more, or lay the first stone to get a job somehow, right? But to do that, you need or should start your own small project, and of course understand some soft skills which go into this direction, mostly LinkedIn. Okay, but so far, guys, do you have any questions related to all of that? Do you have anything which you think you want more information on, which I can tell you, or should I just continue with this soft skills or your questions? And then of course, the next step would be that I continue the actual roadmap even further, which is databases. Because as you can see, here we didn't write down anything related to databases, because all that are just the fundamentals of Python. And you know, Python is not databases, right? Python is not SQL. And that's something which just pivoted from all that which we are doing here together. Because Johnny is a benchmark for me right now. He liked all of that and he wanted to move into this direction, so I moved into that one. Because we also could have dived down deeper into transforming data or working with more different files like Excel and CSV files, how to transform them, how to work with data frames, pandas, all that stuff. But I think still that you can do all of that by your own, because you just have to Google how to work with pandas or something, and then it's just technical skill. Because I don't think you want me to show you how to use a hammer or a saw, right? Because that's what you can do. But what helps you more is if I tell you, look at this. There's a screwdriver as well, and you have this tool and that tool, and you're like, oh man, I didn't even see that. And that's what we are here. Yes, so let me catch up with the chat here. Hello, Long. Oh my God, it's 10act. He's not even here. But hello, a female student. Matilda, hello, nice to see you. This person here. Hello, okay, so guys, do you have any questions? Still.
I don't have questions, no.
Okay. Then, wait, let me catch up here. Nice to just have your voice in the background. Oh my God. I'm like white noise to Matilda. Thank you. I guess not. Okay. Then, let me just cover this one for you guys first. Where is it? Discussion. Because for those who don't know, we have, oh my God, we have this Discord server here, and we have this discussion thread where we always talk and share different topics or whatever that is. For example, Afro finally helped me to remember what this R stood for, you know, like this part here in the text. Can you see that? Why can't I make it bigger? Oh my God. And here I shared a link. I don't know if you guys checked this one, but maybe we can just dive into this one very quickly, because I found this article today with Daily Dev, and this gives you a lot of inspiration what you could do with Python if you don't know what to do. So for example, here you can see that they automate games. I don't know what exactly they are doing here because that's not so interesting to me. But what I liked is this part. This is about content automation on social media. Johnny, did you read that?
No, sorry, I was studying.
Yo, no problem. But look at this. With tools like PyAutoGUI, you can easily run through a number of UI tasks for video creation. You see, now you have one point or way how you could execute this part, because if you want to automate content creation, you need a way to automate the process of putting all the layers in your editing software, you know? And then you have the e-commerce sites task where you can automate calculations or figuring out anything related to ads, and it goes on into financial reporting. And what I really fell in love today is voice assistance automation, because you can see the lights here behind me, right? I always have to turn them on and off by myself, because before that they were attached to my monitor. So when I turned off my monitor, they went off or on. And now they are just connected to my tower here, this one. Oh my God, this guy. And I don't want them to be on all the time. That's why I have my Raspberry Pi behind this monitor as well. And I want to integrate some kind of voice assistant. So I need to buy some kind of microphone for my Raspberry Pi. And then it goes into natural language processing, NLP. And yeah, you can see it here, natural language processing with this framework, for example. And then I want to say something like, hey, turn on the lights or turn on the lighting bolt. Then it just does it for me, which is a really interesting project for me because I really like speech recognition. And yeah, then we just can go further, and then it's about building.
Why aren't you using Google Assistant?
Actually, I could use Alexa or Google Assistant. It doesn't matter what it is. But the problem is I don't have like this tool which connects my both lights into something. I guess they have something like that. But you know, as a developer, an engineer, you want to chase shiny objects, right? And then I just saw this opportunity, and it connects so many things like my Raspberry Pi, NLP, Python automation, and this light thing, which I really like to have. So I just wanted to play around with it anyway, because for my YouTube tool, the topic modeling and trend detection, I also use NLP. So you see, it just continues with all of that, if it makes sense to you. Does it make sense? Yes, okay. So then let's just move on to the part which you wanted to talk about, this part here. What is, or maybe you want to phrase your question again, or is that the whole question which you already have? Or what is the background of your question, Johnny?
Since we have been talking about hard skills, I wanted to know
Hard?
from your hard skills, so like, coding just in general, how to use Python. To me, those are hard skills.
Yeah.
So I was asking myself, I think when you're having a job interview, they don't just want to know how good you know programming. I think they want to see something else, maybe. Like, are you talkative? Are you social or something? I don't know.
Yes, of course. I mean, when you go into an interview, the first thing you need to do is, of course, pass the call, like the interview with your recruiter or something. But for this one, of course, the first step is to have a microphone, okay, not the one which Blazor has. And then just be yourself, first of all. But what you should do or need to think about is, for example, they will ask you, why do you want to work in this position? Why did you decide for front end? Or why did you decide for back end? Or why did you decide for data engineering? So I had one example, I had to interview somebody, and I asked, why did you decide to pursue the path of data engineering? And the answer was, because Mr. X said they needed a data engineer. Like Mr. X would be my boss, for example. And that would be the worst answer you could give, because you just do it because somebody wants that from you. So that's not a good thing. So the first thing, of course, is common sense, okay? And I mean, Tanek also is here right now, and I don't know if he would agree, but I would say that you have to sell yourself better than you are, of course. But you shouldn't lie. You just should say something which you did. For example, you can say, I worked with 10 terabyte
Swift.
of data, right?
Swift.
But the problem is, if you are a junior and you haven't worked anywhere before, and you say you work with 5 terabyte of data or whatever that is, they will ask you specific questions, how you did or how you figure out this problem or that one. And if you can't reply, then of course they know you are a fraud, right? So common sense is the first one. But another thing is that you need to show that you are proactive. Do you know what that means, Johnny?
No, not really. Like, do things on your own?
I think doing things on your own
Or
is...
think ahead? Or like always think one step ahead or something?
Yeah, it goes into the right direction. Oh my god, my
Being
ears.
proactive against
Oh no, it's
Oh my god, what is
get
that,
the
man?
mic out of your mouth.
Yeah, man. Are you talking like...
I'm using the web browser, that's why. But
Oh
yeah,
my god.
participate.
Okay. Thank you, Julio, for your insights.
Taking initiative. There you go.
Okay, Tanek, maybe you can tell us something
Taking
about
initiative.
proactivity. What does it
Taking
mean?
initiative.
What does it mean, taking initiative?
Like you act instead of react. It's really the opposite of reacting to a situation. It's preventing a situation, for example.
Yes. That...
For example, if a new iOS comes out, there will always be issues with your app on on launch when the new iOS version gets released. And if you start to handle these bug fixes after release, you're not proactive. If you start to handle these potential bugs before release, then you're being proactive. You're making sure you're thinking, yeah, it's sort of thinking ahead, but you're also taking the initiative to think ahead and do it.
Basically, do more than you are asked for. Okay? For example, when I tell you or ask you, hey, the task is creating a database schema. Good developers or good students, they create this one, done, they give it, okay, they get their A plus, whatever that is. But proactive developers, they think ahead and think, okay, I need this database schema. Why do I even need that? And then they are like, okay, maybe we have to work with that, obviously. And then they already figure out and Google or research how to work with a database, how to interact with a database, and they do it without other people asking for that. You know, because you also need to differentiate between doing something and doing something for the task itself. Because you could do anything, right? But if it doesn't correlate with the actual task, then it doesn't help you at all. You know, like you also could say, okay, I need to do a database design, and now I will learn how to work with an API. And the task doesn't require API right now, so the professor will say, okay, nice, it's good that you know what APIs are right now, but it doesn't help the current task, you know? Does it make sense, Johnny?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then the next one, which I think is super important, is clear communication and avoiding, I don't know how to say it in English, but in German, it would be sprachliche Defekte. So it would be, I don't even
Even
know.
I haven't heard about sprachliche Defekte before. What the hell?
Well, let me Google it. Sprachliche Defekte. What is that, man? Linguistic defects. Okay, language defects, which basically means, oh my god, you can't see it. Wait here. Linguistic defects or language defects, and that basically means that you shouldn't say something like, or you work on a project, right? And then it doesn't work, and the professor asks you, why did it work? And you said, yeah, I wrote some code and it didn't work. And then he has to continue and ask you, what kind of code did you write? I wrote Python code in my main.py. Okay, but what code did you write and what did it do? You see, if you reply in a sense that the professor has to ask you more questions just to get to a specific point, that you say, oh yeah, the API didn't work because I got an error code 502. You know, you have to be clearer. Don't be like Windows, because Windows is just telling you, yeah, your code didn't work. Your keyboard is not connected. Press escape. So all of that doesn't work. Does it make sense?
Okay.
So you have to be clear in your communication, and that's just like the first part. But of course, what's more like the common way is that you always should be on point what you say, and don't beat around the bush. Do you say it like that, Tanak? Don't beat around the bush? Yeah, I think so. For example, you are sitting in your interview and your interviewer is asking you, so Johnny, what kind of projects did you work on before you came here? What would you say?
So far, I have been my biggest project, in case I've already done it or finished it by then, I would say I've automated my social media posts.
Exactly. And that's a good answer, right? But then let me give you a bad answer, which would be, yeah, I wrote some Python code and it just extracted some data and it worked very well. Or I just work in my university and yeah, I work with APIs. Like that doesn't say anything, because you have to say something which where the other person can derive something from. For example, what I like to say is that I worked on project X with this technology XYZ, and the problem of this project was blah 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 blah, whatever that problem was, and you figured out a solution which worked like that, and it led to this kind of impact. Or you tell them why you did all of that, because most of the time you can create any project you want, right? For example, imagine I would build this project and automate my Lightning and say I can use my voice now and activate or deactivate it, right? But it's not such an interesting project, right? But I can tell them if I apply for a data science position, which is focusing on NLP, natural language processing, I can tell them, yeah, I work with natural language processing frameworks like NLTK toolkit, and I applied this one. I use topic modeling, sentiment analysis here and there. I came across this problem, and I analyzed this huge amount of data set, and you can find my repository here and there. Or I even wrote a Medium article, all that stuff, So it's a question on what you tell them, what they can derive from. Because if you just say, I worked on some university project, that means, or do you know what that means? When you go into a job and say, I just worked in university projects. What does it tell you about the person?
They have only done what they needed to do.
Exactly. And they didn't really invest more in their free time to do that. Because if somebody would invest anything or time into a project in their free time, that means, first of all, they like what they do, they are passionate about that, or they are just very ambitious because they want or need a job or whatever that is. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, that you need to understand how you actually, how to say it, how you look like from the eyes of your interviewer,
Sell
And
yourself.
yeah, exactly. Like imagine you are looking at yourself from the third person. And of course, we can go down the other topics, like, for example, you need to show them that you have a problem-solving attitude. For example, they ask you something, and like let's do a test. What can I ask you? Oh no, you know that one. Oh my God, I don't even know what to ask. Okay, Johnny, have you ever worked with GCP, Google Cloud Platform? What would you say?
To be honest, I haven't. But I'm pretty sure that I'm capable of understanding what it is, and in no time I will learn it in order to use it so I can implement it in my work here at this company.
Perfect. Okay. That's a good answer, actually. But a better answer would be that you know where you apply for, right? You go to an interview because you prepare yourself, and they work with Python, MongoDB, Redis, AWS, or Azure. I don't know what they use, but let's say they also use GCP. Then of course you have to prepare yourself, and then you Google that, and then you can tell them that you have read about that, but you didn't have any opportunity yet to do that, or if you have time, you just look into it and you can say something. But what most people do is, or what is the worst thing you could do is that you just say anything and say, oh yeah, I have heard about that, it's amazing, and then you just drop some buzzwords where it sounds like you know something, but then it will just go deeper, and then they figure out you don't even know what you're talking about, right? Because I also had one example where I asked, have you ever worked with APIs? And then that person answered, yeah, in university I worked with APIs. It was very hard. And then I asked, okay, so how did it look like? And they said, yeah, I had a file which was called api.txt. And that's where I knew, I think this person didn't work with APIs yet, which is not a problem. But if they don't say, I didn't do that already, that means they're not straightforward, you know? So you can tell where this is all going. And another thing would be time management. I think there's something which you also need to tell or discuss. For example, most interviews go into this question where they ask you, hey, Johnny, can you describe one day from morning to evening of what you do? And then, of course, you shouldn't go into detail of everything, so they don't care what kind of cereals or milk you use for your breakfast. But it's more about what you then say about meetings, or how do you handle distractions at work or something, or at home, you know? And I think that's something which you need to think about as well. Do you know what I mean?
I never really got the question how I would manage time, to be honest. Like, can you give like an example?
Yeah, I mean, nobody will ask you how do you manage time, right? It's more like a question, they just want to see how you answer on that, because the way you reply to that also determines your scope. For example, when somebody asks me, so long, how do you manage your time? I always say, I think the best thing how I manage my time is that I learned how to say no. You know, not no to other people only, but also no to things which I think I need to do, but just focusing on the things which I have to do. Do the things that need to be done, right? And then they understand, because saying no is another thing which goes into time management, problem solving, and communication. I think the biggest takeaway you should take from today is that you need to learn how to say no. Or from my perspective, like saying no, biggest or essential skill which you always need to have and know, not only in programming or interviews, but also in this community, for example. Like, of course, you can hang out with everybody here anytime you want, but if you do it every day and you keep talking, it doesn't matter if it's a good talk or not. It will then take your time from doing what you actually want to do. They say you want to study 5 hours a day, and then if you talk 3 hours, which is a good talk, and you get some insights from, but if you then just focus on 2 hours per day, it's not doing what you want to do. Does it make sense?
So the next time you ask me for dinner, I'm just gonna say no.
For example, but going for dinner with me, I wouldn't say no to that one. Okay?
Yeah, okay, understood.
Oh, yeah, and of course, the last one, which I would say is the combination of time management, saying no, and something like understanding or reading the room and people. You know, just looking at the person and thinking about the question which they ask you is not enough, because we like data, right? So you can somehow look at their body language or look at their face and see how they actually mean that question, you know? And but regardless of that, what I mean is, for example, today at work, one of my colleagues came to me and asked me about a problem with packages and pipelines or something. And I know that this colleague has a really strict deadline for another project, which is like the top priority. And that person still wanted me that I help them on a problem which has no priority. It has no value for the whole project, actually, which makes no sense that now two people invest time in something which is not important. And so I just finished it in a few minutes, like 10 minutes, and say, yes, that's how you do it, but you don't need it right now. You already implemented the minimum what you need, and that's it. So do you need that for your project? I asked them. And they said, no. Then I said, why are we wasting time on that then, if it's not important? You know, that's why you need to understand the priorities, understand why is that person even asking you. Just because they are asking you doesn't mean you have to answer them. You need to question everything. And that also goes with proactivity. Because imagine that person comes to you, asks you some questions, and you continue talking, and 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of your whole day are gone. And then your boss is like, man, why did you talk with him so long and this project is not done? And because you can say, yeah, he asked me a question, so I just wanted to be friendly and reply. If you do that, you don't, how do you say it, appreciate or not appreciate, prioritize your own task, your time, and your actual importance, you know, of your tasks. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I know
That's
what
why
you're
all those
trying to say.
things are important, and also, yeah, I mean, common sense. Also, common sense, man. Like when you apply for a company and you have a call, or you have to go into the company, look how they all are dressed and dress up properly, like how
Like
they
you?
should be. No, don't be like me, man. I'm the only person who looks like that in my company, man. And but it, like, you know, in all those movies, it just can happen if you, yeah, if you are like you're integrated in the system and you know how it works and how to handle or how to behave towards specific people and all this stuff. But I think that's something which should and can help you regarding soft skills. Does it make sense? Did it help you somehow?
Yeah.
Or is that what you
It helped.
asked?
This is what I wanted to know, basically.
Okay, so write it down into today I learned, so you remember it every day and internalize it. And of course, yeah, don't talk too much as well in interviews. Just focus on the actual question, you know. That's also a soft skill, like understanding what does this other person actually want from you, you know. Sometimes it's not the answer to the question, but to just something between the words, between the lines. Okay.
I think this aligns with the one thing you said earlier, like don't beat around the bush. Like go straight to the point, what you want, so they know. And then
Yeah,
they can
because
help you.
everybody worships or appreciates time. So that's what I would say. And yeah, I think all that also applies to not only programming, but also in life at all, you know, because, you know, we are into self-development, and I'm not here to teach you or pass you on my experience in tech, but also in what I think helped me the most. Yeah, and yep, that's it actually. Okay. So, guys, then that's it for the social part. Let me check the time. Oh my god. So it's already over, like the 1 hour which I planned. Does anybody else have any questions? What is that? Nice. Alfred just sent me the task number 8 and 9. Tess, do you have any question?
Right now, for me, it would be more like on a technical side. I
Mhm.
did task 9. I tried task 10, but I didn't have that much time left, so I just did task 11 because I already worked with SQL databases once, so it was fairly easy to set this one up. So I'm just behind with task 10 right now, but I have to spend some time so I can define what my question is. So right now I could just tell you I didn't get it, but I can't tell you my actual question, so that wouldn't take really far. Yeah.
Perfect.
I
All
will
right.
go on and tell you when I'm at the point.
Okay, nice. Yeah, no problem, because it only makes sense if you put in some time and then have questions, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let me go back to Discord. Afro, okay. Thank you for your input, Afro. Do you have any questions for that one, or do you think you finished everything in the best way which you think it was possible? Afro? Oh my god. Where is Afro chatting? Oh, I guess so. I didn't let me Google it. I didn't let me Google it. I guess what? It was 10 minutes before. Okay. Then I will just check it, and then just give you feedback for that one. But for now, this part, like the catch-up call now, is actually over. And for those who want to continue until Wednesday, because that's when we have the actual catch-up call where I just help you on your specific topics. You can continue working with Postgres, or if you haven't set up Postgres with pgadmin, and continue figuring out how you could implement Python with, or not Python, more like Postgres and PsychoPG2 into Python, so you actually can work with your database if you haven't. Because after that, we will then combine the whole stages, which is ETL, and focus on the T and L stages where we transform the data from Reddit, for example, and load them into your database, which should have a schema journey. Okay? And if you guys have any projects which you want to work on, just let me know so I can guide you a little bit and can let you know what you should focus on, or what's the most important part of that one. Okay? And if you don't know yet, Google the Pareto, or I don't know how to say it in English, but it's Pareto principle, the 80-20 or 20-80 principle, which is super important. And yeah, so that's it for today, actually. Thank you for joining, guys. I hope that was a fresh reminder for you guys. And don't forget to, of course, leave some comments if you made it this far. And see you in the next one, guys. Peace. Johnny, say your last famous words.
Like and subscribe, and please comment, so YouTube algorithm knows that we're actually making good content.
Thank you. Peace.